With this video, we will be doing inside Kendrick Lamar process for his upcoming album. And if you want to help this channel and the content that we making, please help support our merchandise. The link is in the description. If you didn't hit the like button, make sure you hit the like button. Try and get the channel to grow. And the only way we're going to do this if you like, share, and comment on the content. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Let's go! Chi, get the yayo.
Get the yayo.
Recently, there's been a lot of talk about Kendrick's upcoming album since the outcome of the Drake beef, and it seems like he's taking full advantage of the hype. Usually, Kendrick and his team stay quiet and don't reveal much, so this is also the first time we've seen the core team tease and hype up an album like this.
But it's 2 albums.
That's crazy.
That's exactly what I was saying. I was like, Kendrick talking about something? He's the boogeyman. He don't talk about nothing.
You just told me that probably an hour ago when I was like, yo, we got this video coming up on the process of carrying the Lamar album. You was like, yo, Kendrick don't give up none of his information.
Not at all.
We see this is the first time, so it's the first time for everything.
First time for everything.
So the first time we've seen the core team tease and hype up an album like this.
But it's 2 albums I'm like going crazy. I can't wait till they drop.
2 albums.
Roddy Ricch album. And whenever Kendrick drops his album, I'm excited for those two. Those 2 Compton artists is like...
Who the first person he said?
I didn't hear the first one.
I didn't get the name.
Roddy Ricch album.
Roddy Ricch.
Roddy Ricch.
And whenever Kendrick drops his album, I'm excited for those two. Those 2 Compton artists is like, I'm excited.
Now with the Juneteenth show coming up as well, this lets me know the tone they set.
You keep hearing about that Juneteenth show. It's like, yo, this is when Kendrick Lamar is going to let Drake have it. Or not even just have it, it's supposed to be success. Any success that Kendrick Lamar has, people are looking at that like that's a shot towards Drake and his movement he got going on. So that show is being hyped up a lot, and I can't wait.
I'm really looking at it in so many ways because I know that the Juneteenth is going to be, a show is going to be special just for its own purposes. But it's still at the same time, it's like, you're always talking about freeing the slaves. Well, I'm going to do a show to immense talking about when the slaves was really free.
Yeah. And that was the same thing that was going through my head. How Drake was like, man, you always rapping like you trying to free the slaves, and then you do a performance.
Juneteenth show.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
He out Drake and Drake at Drake.
At his finest.
Facts.
This record. But most people don't realize that this new record was first teased a year ago on the 3rd of June 2023 at Governor's Ball.
Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Good Kid, Mad City, to Pimp a Butterfly, damn, Section 80. Because of you, I will be back.
Because of you, I will be back. And it's crazy how a couple days ago we was talking. I didn't know he called himself the like part of them is the Big Steppers. So when Drake said how you big stepping with them size 7 men's on, I didn't get that bar. And then when you told me about the big step, I'm like, oh, that makes that bar even land that much harder because I knew no idea about the Big Steppers.
Yeah, because he always coming out about that album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
Yeah,
I thought that was crazy too.
Yeah.
His plans for this album have been set in stone well before this beef started. Immediately after Mr. Morale dropped, Kendrick and his team started working right away on the new record. One of his main producers, Soundwave, revealed in a Billboard interview he had joined Kendrick on tour for the purpose of working on new music.
Wow.
This is common practice for
Never
them.
stop.
We've already heard from a bunch of insiders how obsessed Kendrick is about creating new music.
Usually it's the format of...
That's smart, and I'm glad more artists is adapting that because you're so busy, you're on tour, you from city to city, state to state. A lot of artists is putting studios right there on their tour bus because when I have to be out all the time, might as well have something right here to record. And one of the first people I know to implement that system was 50 Cent. He used to talk about how he used to do it because his first album it blew up, but when you have an album that blew up, the label want another album real quick, but you caught up in partying, touring, and all that stuff. Then they's like, yo, we need an album, and you don't got nothing lined up. So even though when 50 Cent was promoting his first album, he was working on his second album. That's why you was getting so many projects from 50 Cent at that time. It was him, then it was G Unit. It was just rollout after rollout, project after project, because they kept working while they was touring.
But you get some of your finest moments of creativity when you are on tour, like when you are in other cities and states, and to be able to just sit there and soak all this energy and then put it down.
It's crazy.
It's right then. Without having to wait. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a good thing though.
Finish the album, go on tour, get right back on tour working on the next album, throwing paint on the wall, just ideas, figuring it out.
Apparently, he started working on Damn as soon as they got the final mix for To Pimp a Butterfly, and the majority of the Black Panther soundtrack was created on the Damn tour. These sessions on tour are usually used as sound explorations, figuring out how they want to attack whatever sounds they end up focusing on.
Star Wars returns and is
This is a good
certified
video. I like
fresh.
it.
Are you ready?
That nigga jumped out the.
You got
That
bonnet
nigga jumped
on?
out the bunk with the. Event.
EJ.
Whatever this album ends up being, we know it's going to sound completely different to his previous works. Everybody involved in the process is pretty much chasing the same thing.
How do we follow this up with all eyes on us? Like,
Man.
what's Kendrick's next move?
I tell people all the time, man. I mean, we will never repeat ourselves because we're really students of the music and we're inspired by life.
Man, with Kendrick, for example, we met, and by the end of it, he's like, let's give a song, let's do one song and see what happens. So we did, we worked on one song. And for me, you could tell an artist was wanting something slightly different, right?
Yeah.
So that's the psychology.
This doesn't sound like his other stuff. I think it sounds awesome, but I don't know if he's gonna like it. And I just watched this look on his face of like, oh yeah, that sounds good. And I was like,
It's a part of their culture and ethos at this point. When you think about it, it's impressive that all his albums are made by the same core team because they sound so different.
I don't know. It's like I can have all the number ones in the world, and to me, my brain instantly goes to, okay, what's next?
Like when Mr. Morale came, I was so excited. I was like, man, I was so happy for Kendrick. I was like, damn, he got this out. He got this off his chest. Then the next day, back to the what's next.
Pretty much everything is kept in-house.
That's how you gotta be.
That's how you gotta be. What's next? Because you only as good as what you did last. So you can't just keep laying on what you did yesterday. You gotta keep going and going and going. That's just the industry we in. That's just this business that we in. It's what have you done for me lately? In time you lay a hit, the shot clock has now turned on to how long ago you had a hit.
Yeah.
So you got to just keep going.
Yeah, that's the game of life.
Yeah, facts.
You must stay on top.
Yeah.
You must keep moving.
You can't rely on what you did yesterday
Yeah, it has no bearing on what happens today.
at all.
For one or two new additions to the team on every album. This time around, I believe one of the new additions would be Jack Antonoff, the producer who worked on the 616 diss track. About 6 months ago, Kendrick was spotted leaving Electric Lady Studios, which is where Jack usually works. This was after a session with Taylor Swift, Jack, and Common.
One of the most interesting relationships I think there is you and Jack Antonoff.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah.
Like from the first drum sound that I did and first chord he did, we was like a match made in heaven. To the point where I was just like, bro, where have you been my whole life?
Yeah, I've been looking for you.
Yeah.
A question I've always asked myself is how Kendrick keeps up in the ante every time he steps out. The vocal performances, new beats and flows, mixing different art mediums with the music, but most importantly, the storytelling. He gets more and more vulnerable with every project. Obviously, a big part of the anticipation of any Kendrick album is what does he have to say this time? It's because of his ability to continuously capture the human experience with the storytelling. Even with all his success, he has never seemed to be out of touch. Usually artists have a few great albums before their fans start finding it hard to connect with them like they once used to. This is why we hear hardcore fans say they miss the old so-and-so artist. I don't really see this that much with Kendrick, so I went and studied his process. He has explained it a little in a few interviews, but it's never been explored really, and it's truly fascinating to me. Kendrick in the past has said by the time he starts making an album, he already has it 60% complete in his head.
Wow.
The majority of the recording process is finding the right beats to match the emotion, plus figuring out the vocal performances. This makes sense when you hear demos of his songs. He'll record the same verse on dozens of different beats until he finds the right one.
Perfect.
But what's more interesting to me,
Looking for perfection. It's like when you have something to sound in your head and you already know what you want it to sound like, you're just looking for something to sound like that, and you know if it's not what you had in your head.
Right. There is no I'm looking for a sound that's close.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a sound it's similar. It's no, I need that sound.
I need a specific sound.
Yeah.
how he gets to these ideas. The main focus for him is people, talking to people, studying every little nuance, paying attention to the words they use. You would think he's always reading books and studying, but no. His concepts come from interactions and conversations with random, normal human beings.
I gotta tell you, he's he studies every nuance, every movement, every word.
You're grabbing all these different experiences around the world and all these different conversation pieces, and you almost have to read.
That's remind me of what you just was talking about when you on tour. You grabbing up all the conversation pieces from all around the world, because when you on tour, you all run around the world, and it's glad that you could take all these experiences and put into your music, because a lot of people could be around these same conversations and wouldn't be able to pull from it what he's pulling from it. So just let you know that he does have a musical mind. Any conversation he probably could turn into a song if he wanted to.
Right, and that's what's so beautiful about, like, we're talking about the studio on the road.
Yeah.
Because just like anything else, some things you're gonna remember, some things you're not.
Yeah.
But when you can actually record that information down,
right then and there,
yeah,
in real time,
yeah, it makes everything else
a lot
just
better,
a lot easier.
Because by the time you get to where you're at, you're gonna forget most of them thoughts.
Right.
Yeah.
That because a lot of my inspiration comes from meeting people or going outside of the country, or going around the corner to my old neighborhood, talking to a 5-year-old little boy, and I have to remember these things.
Where I was at Johannesburg.
Okay.
Johannesburg. Going out there really inspired. I wrote a lot of records off the album just by visiting South Africa and being able to move around like I did.
Kendrick is always searching for new stories to tell, so he makes it a point to stay grounded, because ultimately he understands that this is where the magic comes from.
Getting that sun, a good old rock.
Discipline, dog. This man is the definition of discipline. This is my guy. Love you, bro. He putting it back on and he getting back fresh when he go back to work. Come on, man.
Hey.
Real man shit.
All right.
That way.
That's one of my favorite Jordans.
Okay, you put it through. Okay.
I mean, even
that's what I did.
Like, almost.
Bro. Nah.
I swear. Look at them Jones.
Oh,
You see this a lot of people who are held to a high.
Yo, you said. Yo, stop. I ain't gonna call them almost J's.
Them the Tamu Jones.
Oh yeah, look at the sign. Yo.
Yeah, crossing him up. I was like, man.
No, that's the AI.
That's just a testament to who he is, man.
Yeah, facts.
You know he got all the bread in the world,
Yeah,
man. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And he got some almost J's on.
I know he be doing stuff like this.
Yo, it's different.
I like him even more now.
I like him even more now. Yeah, real talk.
That way.
He said some almost J's.
Okay, you put it through. Okay. Okay, that's what I did wrong.
Big stepping in them Jones.
You see this a lot with people who are held to a high regard in our communities. Andre 3000 and Muhammad Ali are two great examples.
Andre.
That's crazy.
You'll see them doing things which most people wouldn't expect from superstars.
You don't hide from your public. You walk around, you talk to people, you meet people. Do you have a bodyguard?
Greatness is not guarding yourself from the people. Greatness is being accepted by the people.
This is something not only he himself practices, but his people do too.
Kendrick is smart. We already a ghost. This motherfucker is a ghost. How do you know what to do to heal people if you're surrounded by just music and musicians all the time? There's all different ways of healing, but there's no way to tell unless you're living that human environment.
Right.
And sometimes when you're for me, when I'm in an environment with musicians, and I don't want it like this, but sometimes it tends to be less human sometimes and more musician.
Right.
Like we're not humans.
It sounds so simple, but it's probably the biggest reason why they're still able to connect every time they release. After going on tour again, going to Asia, going back to Africa, meeting new people, hearing new perspectives, I'm just eager to see what the hell he has to say this time.
Straight TV. Let's get.
This is Lamar Wilson here, representing Ghetto Action News Network _, all lower cases.
No spaces.
You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. And when you do, leave some comments, share something, come back and have some fun. All right, we're going to get right into this. We got inside Kendrick Lamar's process for upcoming album.
It's crazy.
A deep dive. I thought this was dope because when it first started in my mind, I was like, Kendrick don't talk about what he doing, he just do it.
Yeah.
And it just ends up that impactful.
Yeah.
But as we watched the video, I thought it was really interesting just seeing how he moves around, his process, recording on the road, interaction with people, just taking in information. He's almost like a political scientist of sort. You know what I mean? Just understanding people and integrating that into his life. I thought this was dope. What you think about it?
I think it was a great video. Get a little bit more into Kendrick Lamar's. I'm starting to learn more and more about Kendrick. It's actually nice to get to look inside his mind to see how he think outside of the music. And I always like to see how stuff is created. The thing that stood out to me the most is the fake Jordans. Like, shouts out to Kendrick.
Yeah, that was hard.
He's a real one for that one. I would never have expected that, but it lets you know what type of soul he is, what type of person he is. And remind me of the song that we did of his when he was like, take off the designer, take it off. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He's not the same. He's standing on business. I think that was dope. I like this. I can't wait till the album drop. Everyone's anticipating. We definitely know it's going to be fire. Can't wait to react to it. But until then, it's your boy Trey TV, and I'm out.